could be made. We're just in the process of studying Victoria's similar bylaw to that effect.
Okay.
But it's in motion, and what you're doing is
I think we should
giving us a
consider
delightful push.
this as an initial presentation, Bill,
Right.
and we can receive for study and recommendation, and it's going to undoubtedly come up in the near future, as Alderman Long has said.
Right, I believe there is one step that maybe the council or the administrator could do, and this is the funds that is available under the provincial government for the removing or relocating of power lines and telephone lines for aesthetic purposes. It's similar to making that application for that highway overpass you mentioned earlier. I think that can be done, and we can probably, it could be done at any time so that it will be ready. In fact, those poles could be moved now, right? And if the funds are available through this act, then that could maybe proceed with.
Thank you, Bill. I think Inland Gas is to be commended to jumping ahead on getting something going, and we're very pleased to receive your proposal. If sometime we could have a little picture, to those of us who are not so good on plans, it would look pretty good, and certainly would give the Heritage Committee a real boost. And they'll be no doubt acting on it, and there's nothing wrong with us proceeding as suggested. So if you would, if there are any questions from council, we could entertain them, but let's consider this as received for study and recommendation. Could someone so move?
I'll move we receive this for study. Second.
Seconder?
Second.
All those in favor? Is there any questions anyone would like to ask? I don't want to chase you through this,
No, I understand.
Bill, but it has been dealt with by Heritage, and it's a question of making the announcement to council, and certainly we'll proceed with it.
Thank you very much, Richard.
Thank you.
Really encouraging you.
Just pertaining to this Power and Telephone Line Beautification Fund Act, I just wondered if we had taken any steps to find out what funds are available. If not, could we pass a motion that we do so?
I'm just wondering whether it's premature at this point. It's up to council.
Your Worship, could I make a suggestion with respect to that particular piece of legislation? I wonder what we're going to require in order to make an application is to have cost estimates by the various utilities involved as to what's going to be required to move.
I've already done that, and it's $2,100 to relocate the wires around the back end of the building, which is, sorry, might say an 80% solution. 100% solution would be removing the poles altogether and putting the wiring underground, and that would be a cost of $2,400. Now that is the wiring, that is all the telephone, that's the major amount of the garbage you see down there in the way of wires and telephone poles. That does not take into the city's power line underneath, and I haven't checked with your own city electrical people on that. But as far as the TV, the cable, and the telephone is concerned, it would be $2,400, and that's an estimate by BC Tel.
We would have to get written estimates certified by both of those utilities or all utilities involved to support the application. That's my experience in applying for these in the past. But it can be done.
Fine, if you want, I can do that. If sure, if that's what you want.
That would be a big help.
Sure, I'll see that we get those out to you very quick.
Yeah, very quick.
Thank you, Bill. Is there anyone else who'd like to ask a question?
Did you have some plans for Mel Burger? They put the wrong address on there. I got 615 Railway Street, which is across the street.
That's, is there, well, if that's the address, sorry, it should be 610 and 614.
Right. I thought maybe you were doing something across the street.
No, Mel's got his own idea.
Any other questions? Thank you then, Bill, and you'll be hearing from us, eh? Or
Okay.
we'll be hearing from you also.
Okay.
At this point, council, could we receive for information the minutes of the combined meeting of the Nelson Advisory Design and the Heritage Advisory Committee of today? Just receive for information the minutes of the Nelson Advisory and the Heritage Advisory of today. Is there a seconder for that?
Second.
All those in favor? Motion is carried. The next item, council, is a memo from the administrator with respect to the landfill, and he's advising us that the provincial government have placed a restricted covenant on the property. Therefore, we don't need to have a bylaw, which was requested, I believe, by Alderman Neville. Would you agree, Alderman Neville, that we needn't proceed with the bylaw if there's a restricted covenant on the property?
Not if council are fully committed to that situation, which I believe they are now.
I don't think we have any alternative with the covenant on there because it had to go someplace, and it is on there, placed by the government.
Well, I'd only say that we've removed it once already, Your Worship, from another piece of land.
Would you like to move that we proceed with the bylaw to reserve the property for private purposes?
Well, I'd like to try.
Moved by Alderman Neville that we proceed with the bylaw to reserve the landfill site for park purposes. Is there a second? Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Yeah, I can't go for that.
All those in favor, again?
I got it.
I just wondered.
3, and those opposed?
I have to vote
I didn't
opposed.
get a question in there. Is there any, what kind of costs are involved, is what I was gonna ask.
No costs. It's just a bylaw.
What happens though if if there's some other use necessary for that?
Then you have to undo all the work you've done.
Yeah, that's exactly what, I think council should hear some other problems before they jump into that at the moment, but.
Could we have the vote again then, please? All those in favor of the bylaw? 3, and those opposed? Motion is carried. The next item on the agenda are the minutes of the advisory planning of May the 8th. And could someone move they be received, please?
So moved.
Seconder?
Second.
All those in favor? Motion is carried. There is a recommendation there. Motions, item number 1, F.E. McLean, recommend approval of this proposed subdivision. Could you perhaps explain, Mr. Administrator or Director of Works? Or? It's at 824 8th Street.
Yes, Your Worship, the application again deals with a subdivision of a lot, and it's not a plan to scale that I can see. It's been referred to the Planning Commission, and it deals with subdividing an existing lot, which is 108 feet by 110 feet. The lot has an existing building on it, and they're proposing to subdivide the 108 feet into 2 lots, 55 feet on the one side, and the balance on the other, 58 feet. 50 feet on the one side and 58 on the other. The 58-foot lot would house the existing building.
Could I ask you, Worship, have advisory planning studied this yet?
Well,
These are the minutes of the advisory
Sorry, I
planning.
haven't read those.
They have recommended approval, Your Worship.
Are you in concurrence with that, Mr. Adams? You familiar with it? There's some correspondence underneath.
Has there been any study or anybody looked at it, see how the off-street parking is going to work on that lot? And if it's possible?
No, I haven't yet, but.
You haven't had a chance? Someone like to move to table pending a report from the Director of Works.
I so moved.
All those in favor? Motion is carried. And then there's the subdivision R.S. Belenky. Apparently that's your report, Mr. Adams. Is that correct? Report of the Director of Works received and recommend that his report be forwarded to council and that NAPC concur with the report.
Do we have a copy of the report from the Director of Works, or do we have it attached?
It's right here.
It's attached there, Your Worship. It's dated March the 20th. It's a memorandum from the
Oh,
Director
it's the
of
one
Works.
right next. Oh, that's the thing.
That's for not extending the boundary
Yeah,
extension.
no
Yeah.
boundary extension.
I'll move accepting recommendation.
A second.
All those in favor? Motion's carried.
That's regards to the Belinkie one?
That's correct.
Okay.
And item 3 has already been dealt with, I believe, by motion
Last council meeting.
376, so we needn't deal with that. We have the combined meeting of the Nelson Advisory Design Panel. Is that the one we had to deal with? Yes, we dealt with that. There's one other item which I haven't had a chance to bring to your attention, but it's a letter from Shelia Renwick advising that she would like us to close Queen Elizabeth Park to golfers.
Should be.
For several years now, I've had serious misgivings about the safety of children that are allowed by their parents to use the park as a golf driving range. Many, many times I've seen golf balls hit across the street into our and other yards adjacent to the park, endangering not only people on foot, but also imagine the results of a golf ball hit into the windshield of a car driving by. This whole matter was brought very close to home at 10 p.m. Saturday night, when a golf ball came crashing through the window of the room where my husband and I were watching TV. I would like to request that you give serious consideration to putting a ban on the use of golf clubs in Queen Elizabeth Park and posting notices to that effect. Yours very truly, Shelia Renwick.
It is my understanding that golf clubs are not allowed in any
I
public park at any time.
I wouldn't think so.
Shouldn't be.
That particular park is also designated for baseball only. That was the purpose of its incorporation originally.
It's just for baseball.
Yeah.
I think that's a basic. I think if we went back into the parks bylaw, you'll find that that's covered there, because
Yeah.
I inform each one of my phys ed staff every time that we get a new staff member that and they're taught that at the provincial level. Parks are not for golfing.
Perhaps it's a question of bringing it to the attention and posting a notice, I
The
presume.
same goes for school ground. It's standard.
We've had that problem before, Your Worship. What has to be done is it just has to be enforced either by posting of some sort or some kind of patrol that it should be posted.
I think posting might be sufficient, because then you could at least point to it, and
Is there a board down there it could be put on? or-
Not if
That's
it's,
wire fence or
Yeah.
just
it could be on the
places
fence.
for posts or you put on, I don't remember whether they put the park regulations on that one when they put it back, when they changed that backstop last time or not.
I don't see anything.
Does anybody know who's been using it regularly for golf practice?
Actually,
We could tell them, don't, please don't do that.
I don't think we can allow golf balls to go through the windows of a former alderman anyway.
Somebody have to.
Yeah, that's what I think.
And could someone move that we write Mrs. Renwick and advise her that parks are not to be used for golf purposes? We will post it, and if any particular individuals come to her attention, would she advise us, and we'll do something about it?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion is carried. I think,
May I bring up one question? The same lady pointed out something else that's happened in this city, and that is the posting of notices from Castlegar, staple gun to all the trees on the parks and all along the boulevards, and I understand that that's against I would understand that that's against, I don't know which bylaw, but I would think that it is, and I don't know how you go about it. I thought if there was some way in which we could sort of make a public comment upon it. I realize the media is gone in terms of covering it in the minutes, but is there some way that we could, it was wicked what happened about 2 weeks ago. They literally covered every city tree. We went around the park and took the staples out of the trees. I hope we didn't do any more damage. I don't know who was responsible.
I think we could bring it to the attention of the police department. And,
What were they advertising?
Rock band and dance in Castlegar.
they should be responsible for it, whoever signs it here.
I think if the police could investigate it, Alderman O'Brien, and make sure that that particular organization are told that something we're not going to put up with. I'll undertake that if you like.
Okay, I'll get the name of the organization, the
If you
kids
would,
know
let
it, I
me have
can't
them and
remember
I'll
it.
see that they're contacted.
As long as it wasn't a political sign.
No,
Is that-
no,
Is that the end of the late
that's
items?
correct, consent.
Would someone move?
I had one, Your Worship, just, if anyone from council has any concerns about, there's a meeting on Thursday, May the 24th in the bunker of the post office regarding the area coordinator for the PEP, Provincial Energy, and he says, would you please help in laying out plans to cover any emergency that could rise in or around our city? Does anyone have any concerns come to mind recently that I could bring to their attention, or if they get a hold of me between now and Thursday night?
Could you say that again? I'm sorry, I don't.
There's a provincial emergency program coordinators having a meeting on Thursday night. He would like help in laying out plans to cover any emergency that could arise in or around the city. I know the police and the fire and most people go, and I just wondered if any members of council had anything that I should bring up. I don't know.
The meeting's next Thursday, is it?
Thursday the 24th is,
Thursday the 24th. Thank you, Alderman Freno.
that's what.
Your Worship, before we go on into committee, I'd just like to inform you that I've gotten the flag back. It's in Seattle at the present time, but it's being returned.
Great.
Prepaid, I hope.
Would someone move that we go into committee, and I'd like Mr. Sefferdine, Mr. Zukowski, and Mr. Johnson to handle the first item if they will. Would someone move?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Would you like a 2-minute recess?
Just, yes,
Yeah.
please.
What's the election for? Yeah.
Yeah, quick.